I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with my hands. I've been running around my apartment. I was sprinting up and down the hallway. I was doing push-ups. I think I'm in a more composed place. I started playing music. I didn't really know what music to play. I've been tweeting rapidly. A lot of thoughts going through my head. Obviously, 49ers just traded. So they traded pick 12, pick 102, a first rounder next year and a first rounder the year after for number 3 with the Dolphins. I gotta ask you this because we talked about it on Sunday. You expect Zach Wilson to be gone. Would you have traded up? Would you have made this trade?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the third pick, it's one of those situations, and this is where our knowledge has evolved since the last time a team did this. By the way, the Jets in 2018, the utility for that pick, if you're the Dolphins and you don't think you need a quarterback, is just so much lower, right? You're selling something that another entity wants more than you, so you can get them to pay up for it. And the Niners, in this situation, a quarterback, when you need one, is worth so much at that pick that it comes out fine for the Niners. The Niners win the trade a decent amount. It's not, it's bimodal, right? Like there are tons of situations where Fields just can't play, or whoever goes there. We'll talk about that in a second. But if they hit on this pick, it's tremendous for that franchise. And the cost control, as we talked about, right? The cost control, getting him for like $8 to $9 million a year for the next 4 plus a 5th-year option. I mean, the Niners can do this and sort of start the process of rebuilding the roster. Plus, you have Deebo Samuel on a rookie deal. You have Brandon Ayuk on a rookie deal. This is time, and the division is, I think, winnable for them, very much so, even though it's tough. I like this move for San Francisco.
Okay, a couple of things. So we have the Niners winning the trade on average about 2/3 of the time. That's the impact of the quarterback, right? Even an average quarterback makes this a win for them. I have so many thoughts. So I'm just going to start. I'm going to start rattling them off. The first is this: Jimmy G I think can net them some capital back. He has a no trade clause. There are teams out there. I think the Patriots should still look at Jimmy G. So I think that's something to consider. He still has some value. You can get something back for him. Here's the other thing. This quarterback class is amazing. They're absolutely amazing. Like Justin Fields being the 3rd best quarterback in this draft class, I think is nuts. And if you really like Trey Lance, and we'll talk about Mac Jones here in a second, you might not have that opportunity next year. So I understand where they're coming from. And here's the other kicker. I'm not convinced Zach Wilson isn't still there at 3. I'm holding out hope. I still am. That's the guy I want.
Well, and I actually, I'm talking, like I was talking to somebody I know from the Falcons. So I was just like, you have the league by the balls at 4 now, right? Like, because there's
Jamar Chase.
It's explicitly like a quarterback's going at 3. There's absolutely no chance that it goes quarterback, non-QB, right? So if you want to get that 3rd best QB at best and the 4th best one at worst, you have to deal with Atlanta. And if you're like Carolina, for example, that's in the division. So that's an extra markup. But you're right. There's so many. I think this makes Zach Wilson more likely to be the 2nd pick, just because if it's not going to be the Jets are going to trade out of that spot because some team is going to be like, look, we know Niners are going to go.
The Niners had to have offered this to the Jets. There's no way they didn't offer this to the Jets.
Do you think so? Because I'll back up. We'll talk about the Dolphins here too, and their move back to 6. And I think their move back to 6 is very similar to what the Niners are doing, moving just to 3. And here's why. I actually think that the 49ers build an offense where it's kind of like if it's Wilson or if it's Fields, they're both above a certain threshold and they don't really care. So they can sort of get the best the best available guy there.
But why
I don't think they care that much.
But why wouldn't they have offered that still to the Jets? I mean, I get it.
But maybe the Jets turned it. They weren't willing to offer more for 2 than they did for 3.
Yes. Now, my thought process would be, okay, if the Jets were not taking a quarterback, they would have obviously taken that compensation because the markup there for a non-quarterback is absurd. So even if you love Jamar Chase, I'm still not holding out hope because it's the Jets. But the Jets are probably taking Zach Wilson, which means this is the conundrum you've been waiting for me to be in, okay? Because I have it on good authority, very good authority, that there are people in the Niners building that love Mac Jones. I don't know if it's Kyle Shanahan. I don't know if it's a janitor. I have no idea. But I know there's at least a couple people in there that really like Mac Jones. And I just listened to Mike Tannenbaum. I just listened to Daniel Jeremiah. And here's what they're doing. They're doing what you're doing, which is, who Mac Jones reminds me of? Kirk Cousins. You know who Kyle Shanahan loves? Kirk Cousins.
Well, we talked about this.
Let me ask you this. Would you trade the picks that the Niners traded for Kirk Cousins on a rookie deal?
Knowing what we know about Kirk, yes.
You would.
On a rookie deal, yes. The problem is
what?
Mac
The greatest
Jones
stat pattern in the history of the world?
Yeah.
The corniest cornflake on planet Earth.
But this is different though. Like Kirk Cousins is a very good quarterback. The only thing that makes Kirk Cousins bad is how much he's paid. There's not Kirk's a good quarterback. He's not worth $31 million. Well,
he's a good quarterback with some very clear defificiencies.
Yes, but those
limit
deficiencies
him from being elite.
Those deficiencies are almost all done away with if you pile that $20 million APY onto the rest of the team. But here's what I'll say. I can't see them taking Jones. Well, I can't see them doing this for Mac Jones because we talk about Mac Jones as Kirk Cousins. That's like the optimal situation, right? Just like we talked about. But here's the other one. Haskins is like a Sam Bradford. But obviously there's the other side where Haskins is garbage.
What about Matt Ryan? So Matt Ryan, by the way, someone just commented, Eric looks like Seth Rogen. So congrats. Show people your shirt, by the way. Great state of Kansas, baby. I'm wearing Niners red. I didn't have a shirt on. Okay. I put a shirt on for you people. I love you that much. Matt Ryan has the elite ceiling. Granted, it's maybe 5% of his outcomes, but an elite ceiling that Kirk Cousins doesn't have. So I can get it. I can get on board if Shanahan goes, I see Matt Ryan in Mac Jones. That said, what position will I be in on draft day on the draft show if the Niners select Mac Jones?
Well, look, I have no producing experience. I have none. I'm R&D almost completely. I'm less versatile than you. I'm good at a lot of things. But if I have to, in a pinch, produce the draft show,
I'm not producing this year.
The Niners take Mac Jones and you decide to jump into the Ohio River, it's not going to be a pretty sight, fellas. George does a great job with all these things behind the scenes, and it would crumble without you.
There is not, I will probably be hosting the draft show, God willing, I make it that far. There's not enough tequila in this great state of Kansas or Ohio for me to deal with the Mac Jones pick. And here's why. It's nothing against Mac Jones, but I want to be clear. The ceiling, the reason you go up to 3 to take a quarterback is to get an elite player. And I think Mac Jones, I think the Kirk Cousins comparison is very good. And you're ultimately trying to build an elite offense, but an elite offense can win a Super Bowl. So I think that the apt comparison isn't the offense with Kirk Cousins or Matt Ryan, but what offense do you think I'm thinking about, Eric? One that Kyle Shanahan had a part in that was maybe fleeting, but goddamn fun while it lasted.
The RG3.
The RG3.
Yeah. I mean, I
am thinking
it's a little unfair to Fields, though, right?
Oh, it is. It is. Here's why. I think Fields is way better.
Fields is a better passer by a country mile, but he's not the RG3 was like a 4.4 athlete. Well, I guess Fields is too. Fields.
Have you seen the pro day?
I'm not taking any pro day shit seriously this year, George. That's a 4.5.
I'm going out to the river right now, and I'm going to run a 40. Okay, are you ready? You got the stopwatch?
Well, what our own Austin Gale said, OJ would have gotten free if he ran away at one of these pro days.
Okay, here's the deal. Justin Fields is now. I'm not being a fan that's excited. I'm going to make a real case here. Justin Fields is not the best diagnoser of defenses in this draft class. That has been confirmed. But he is one of the most accurate. And his mobility is different from RG3's in that he's a much bigger, much harder to injure, much less fragile human. And maybe that combination is actually what Kyle Shanahan is looking for. Think about the athletes on that offense. Like, you think about the wide receivers and George Kittle being hard to bring down after the catch. Think about Justin Fields being another option in open space. That, I would not rule that being what's going through his head, though I do think Mac Jones is a real candidate here. If I were to put the odds out there, I would say Fields 60%, Lance 25, and Jones 15. And I'm not entertaining. If it's Penei fucking Sewell, I'm in the middle of the river. Okay.
Well, and obviously Wilson, there is a chance that Wilson doesn't go second. Right. I mean, he was minus, depending upon where you look, like minus 200 to go second going into the day. And that has gone down as the weeks have progressed. There's a chance that the Jets don't go. And the last time this happened, George, the Giants took Saquon at 2. So like we've seen this happen before where we're like, oh, the Jets have positioned themselves that the second pick has to be a QB, and Gettleman just got pigheaded and didn't trade the pick. And ultimately you get the second most well-regarded quarterback at 3. That would be a dream for the Niners. And it would be a dream for the Falcons too at 4. Let's talk briefly.
Well, I know what you want to talk about. I got to say one last thing. You and I and a couple of our buddies a couple weeks ago, we bought tickets to Vegas on one fateful Saturday night. Middle of a poker game. We all got on our phones, bought tickets to Vegas. And let's just say if Wilson is the pick at 3, I invite everyone watching right now should get a ticket to Vegas for the weekend after the draft, because that shit is going to be insane.
By the way, any of the sports books that week, if you want to have us host the forecast at your sports book, get But here's
someone
the thing about
someone said your Favre impression, they need it back. But now we can move on to the other.
Yeah. Here's the by the way, my Bernie Sanders impression last night in a group chat with us donked. So
no.
It's not good. So the Eagles then take the 6th pick, trade it back to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
People and look, the trade we gave it about a half a win going in the direction of Philly. Obviously, they're doing a smart thing by trading back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, instead of picking 10, which they would have picked had they beaten Washington on week 17, now they're picking 12th, and they get another first-round pick and a 3rd, I believe, to go along with it. Mm-hmm. Very smart move, I think, by the Eagles, especially since they're not really a roster where incorporating the 4th best quarterback or the 5th best quarterback in the draft is really going to yield the boom that you think it is. So they're rebuilding. Dolphins, obviously, I think trade up in that position. I think they do so because they don't see much of a difference between a group of players. Pitts, Jamar Chase, should he be there, Smith or Waddle. I think they don't see a difference between any of those guys. So they get into that spot to sort of ensure that they and I tweeted this out. You have Tua, you have your running back, you have Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki, and now you could either have Pitts, you could have you have Will Fuller as well. You could have Pitts, or you could have a 3rd wide receiver like Smith or Waddle, or even Chase should he fall. That's an offense where you only give up one of those 2 first-round picks, which at some point in time you can't have that many first-round picks because you have to extend them all anyway if they turn out good. So I don't even hate this for Miami so much.
No, I actually really liked it for Miami because it was essentially a trade down from 3 to 6. Okay. So I thought this was a masterclass by Chris Greer. And to be honest, we talked about Andrew Berry being someone who should be GM of the year. Chris Greer should be right there. Okay. It's a fucking crime that they have not been talked about more. All credit to Brandon Beane. And we should have mentioned the Browns probably in that class of really smart teams. The Dolphins in that class of really smart teams.
Yeah. I think so.
But with the Dolphins, it is basically trade back from 3 to 6. And the difference between Pitts and Chase, I think you get one of them there. And the next set is big enough to me to warrant it. I just wonder, what is Philly? Is Philly done? Does Philly realize our roster is so bad?
Yeah, I think so.
that they just keep moving back and trying to acquire players. I could see that happening because the word is that they try to get up for Wilson. They go, look, Wilson's the guy. And we talked about this too. We'd trade up for Wilson. We'd be more hesitant on the other guys. And I think the Eagles should have thought that. That was exactly what we said. Remember, we talked about trades. We go, look, the Eagles go to 2. Are you going to 3? I don't think so with the Eagles. So to me, it makes sense. The Dolphins turned Laramie Tunsil's gas mask into 4 firsts, 2 seconds, and a third. Are you kidding me?
A top third of the league tackle. Like, we're not talking about fucking Jonathan Ogden here or Ron Yeri. We're talking about Laramie Tunsil.
Orlando Pace.
And of course the Houston Texans, like they of course were the catalyst here. I like what the Eagles are doing. And by the way, to the teams, to the fan bases that want to give their team shit in April for drafting Kyle Trask, Kellen Mond, Davis Mills, any of those QBs, Flippy Franks in the 6th round. Like, that's not a throwaway pick, because when you're the Eagles, and the Eagles have had some bad luck, they've also made some bad choices, but the Eagles have had some bad luck. But you know what? They have a quarterback there in Jalen Hurts who's going to be a far cheaper bridge. We talked about middle-class quarterbacks this week. Jalen Hurts is a better alternative than any of those guys. And if he fails, it's a cheap fail. Right? It's a cheap fail. Exactly. And so think about that when you're thinking about giving your team shit for drafting Kellen Mond with the 60th pick or something like that next month. Again, I think this is a rebuild for the Eagles. It's unfortunate because the rest of the division sucks. So this could be a prime time for them to compete. But, you don't get to choose that all the time. When you get the bad luck, it is time to oftentimes start over, and that's what they're doing, I think.
So Trey Lance is the guy we didn't talk about. We view Trey Lance as, we talked about this already, a step down from Fields and Jones for a team like the Niners. What do you think this does for Trey Lance? Do you think this is a sign that people are out on Lance? Do you think someone's coming up to take Lance, or do you think that are the Panthers, because the Panthers and the Panthers are in an interesting position now, right? Because they either are going all in to get Wilson, maybe the Jets will move off him for a hell of a price, or they're waiting there. Do you think Lance falls? Are they happy with that? I think this is a real wild card now with Lance. I mean, this is a guy that Chris Sims was talking about, I don't really see it with Lance. Maybe there are a lot of teams that don't see it with him. Maybe it's only Coward. Maybe it's the Herd. His destination is the Herd with Lynn.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a chance the Niners like him, and that's where they're going with this pick.
Wow. You think so? Explain this to me. Is this the RG3 thing?
Well, I just think it's maybe they got wind that another team is going to do the same thing for him, but I still think Fields is the overwhelming favorite to be taken with this pick. But I think Lance is not trivial either.
Do you see odds up?
I think there are some on a bookmaker.
Take a look here, because while you're doing that, I want to give. Here's my thought. Trey Lance, a little bit more of a explosive athlete, okay, than Justin Fields. And you might look at his really small sample size of throws, and Kyle Shanahan, someone is posting here, that Fields is minus 200 to go 3.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You might see, Kyle Shanahan is the type of guy that if he sees what he needs to see, even in a small sample size, I think he'd go for it because he's just that confident. So I wouldn't rule that out either. Let me ask you this, because I'm having an internal battle with this myself. Would you rather the Niners take Lance or Jones if you were me?
Wow. Wilson's now minus 400 to go second, by the way, which is a huge development. Well, right,
because the report was that the Eagles would move up to get Wilson, and then they move back.
Remind me of the question again.
If you were me, would you be rooting for Lance or Jones if those were the two?
Well, given Garoppolo's there, I'd go Lance.
Yeah. Where do you think Garoppolo goes?
Take the median projection for Garoppolo is probably better than Jones in year one.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But if you could buy the median for Mac Jones in year one and the upside for Lance in year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's what you would prefer if you're the Niners. Even though, It depends upon what you're really looking for, because right now the Niners are currently saying that Jimmy G is their guy this year.
Of course.
Which if they're
it's beautiful. It warms my heart to see my team so shrewd on social media. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah. But if they're like, let's say that they're Niners minus 110 to be the team that drafts Fields. To be the team that drafts Trey Lance on DraftKings Sportsbook right now. Falcons plus 400.
There's some people in the comments that kind of like Lance and
Mac Jones draft position now 9.5 minus 110 both sides.
Wow. Remember when we told people 17.5?
18.5. Yeah, it was like unbelievable. Well, you got your cleave there. You can eat that for
I'm eating that for dinner. I'm having closing line value for dinner. Here's one other thing that I was going to throw out here. This is an ultra wonky situation. What if the Jets aren't sure who they're taking it to? And LaFleur's brother, who's the OC there, goes, I really like Jordan Love too. Give me a guy that's super raw, And maybe that's a Lance or a Fields, because they have that crazy arm talent, but a little less polished. Big dudes, can move out on play action. Like, I wouldn't rule that out entirely either. I don't know. I think there's a little bit of funkiness between the fact that Saleh is now the Jets head coach and the Niners trade up to 3. Like, there feels like they know something,
Yeah. But I mean, they're like, we're talking about Fields right now, but the markets are and now look, by the way, here's another movement, which is also, I don't think this matters that much, but now the line for number of quarterbacks taken in round 1 is 5.5, over is 4-1. Which I don't think that's that big of a movement, to be quite honest. It was 4.5, but the over was, but yeah, the right now, the favorite to take Trey Lance is the 49ers at minus 110, which I think the Fields thing is very interesting. Very interesting.
Do you see? Look, I think the favorite should be Fields. I am coming off. There are a lot of reasons to doubt that. What Kyle Shanahan has done in the past, how good those other quarterbacks are, how accurate Jones was, how athletic Lance is. One other
Niners
thing,
have pulled into a tie with the Rams to be the most likely team to win the NFC West on DraftKings Sportsbook as well. So
and the Seahawks are still 3-1.
Seahawks are 3-1.
Yeah, I still like that. Let me ask you this: did you see Jamar Chase? Does he have a number up there? Because
Jamar Chase to be the first wide receiver taken is minus 225.
Do we have a pick number for him yet?
No, you do not.
He's going 4.
See, well, let's close on this. What do you think the Falcons do with 4?
Okay, because here's the Falcons are either taking Jamar Chase or they're trading down.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. And we were called idiots, by the way, as we close out.
Yes,
for saying that Jamar Chase was the draft pick for the Falcons at 4.
By the way, I'm not wearing Niners red. You know what red this is?
Falcons red.
Target red.
Target red.
Our new sponsor. This was an emergency PFF forecast. The great state of Kansas. Eric, thanks for hanging out. This is a great day. This league. This is March. Love y'all.
This is March Madness, folks. Sorry.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll be back on Sunday. Don't worry. See y'all.